start with the folks that have their hands raised, because some of them have had their hands raised since we started. So Lorraine and Colleen, if you can please help me by unmuting Therese Cameron. Therese, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I am concerned because I live on the other side of the street on Benton-Lawrence Expressway, right at the corner, Laurelwood Apartments. And I'm concerned about the safety of my apartment complex. Right now, we are full and we have got no parking. And to have this many new units put in means that you will need to have enough parking for 2 people per unit, because there's always going to be 2 cars. No matter where you go, there's always going to be 2 cars. And we need to make sure that if you're going to have this many units, you will need to have a parking garage or something, because otherwise they're going to try to come to my apartment complex and try to park in front of my apartment. And they're going to do that anyway. I know that. But this is not nice for me. I'm extremely uncomfortable with this. And my heart goes out to them when I see these people. I'm honest to God, I pray for them. But right at my apartment, I mean, you're right on the other side of my door. I mean, this is awful.
Thank you, Therese, for your comments. We will be capturing them. And just as a reminder, this is being recorded. So folks will be able to see and hear both the presentation and all of the comments. Thank you so much. Colleen and Lorraine, if you can help me unmute Vishal. Vishal, go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so I have the same concern. We as a neighbors, we strongly opposed to build a shelter in this specific site. For some reasons, right? This is not a vacant land. It is an amenity to the community. Church uses it every weekend for the overflow parking. And 3 months out of the year, this is our beloved pumpkin patch and the Christmas tree lot, right? So it's not an unwanted vacant land. Second thing is, if you look at the Life Move project in Mountain View, that's an industrial area, very narrow opening, and very less street present, right? This is very next to Laurelwood Elementary, Omri Elementary, Stratford, Monticello, park that my kids play, right? Santa Carla High School. So I would like to understand, right, that what thought process goes into selecting a space for building such facilities, right? I personally have been a faithful resident as well as a taxpayer of the Santa Clara City and the Santa Clara County. And yes, we talk about the safety and security of the homeless people, but what about safety and security for us who are living around, right? So the data that was presented here, it shows that the majority of the population that will be housed have physical or mental illness, right? And I would actually focus on the mental illness. The second thing is a drug addiction. Drug addiction is a major reason for homelessness, right? And if we are housing people with the mental disabilities and the drug addiction, where in the highly and densely populated areas near church, park, schools, and temples, we don't feel safe. Second thing is there is another homeless shelter being built right now, just 0.5 miles away, and we have not seen an impact on the community of that Bella Vista Inn shelter, right? So why one area being chosen to build 2 shelters on the 2 opposite ends, right? If I go left, I feel unsafe. I go right, I feel unsafe.
Thank you, Vishal, for your comments. I'm going to call the next person, Judy Hubbard. Judy, go ahead, please.
Judy, take yourself off mute, please.
I got it. Thank you. I want to know, I'm sure you guys did studies like the one over off of Barry S in San Jose where the Habitat for Humanity homes are built for individuals that are homeless. And I know that they share a community kitchen and I think they have a community bathroom. How is that working out? Do you know?
Thank you, Judy, for the question. What we're doing today is taking comments about what should be developed. Life Moves mentioned some examples. What they're considering here is that each individual would actually have their own restroom inside of their unit.
Okay.
And then the kitchen space has not been decided, hasn't been designed. In the city of San Jose, in one of their newer projects, they do have kitchenettes that they're proposing inside each of the units.
Mm-hmm.
It does add project costs, and there are some additional considerations on the operating costs. So those are some of the things we'd like to hear from you all as the team comes up with the development proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take one more question from raised hands, and then I'll switch over to the Q&A that were typed. Gavin. Can you unmute yourself, Gavin?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I want to ask you, you already shared some info on how many percentage the homeless has, but have you done any evaluation, like how many schools in walking distance in this area? Have you done it? Please answer me.
Thank you, Gavin, for the question. For the Life Moves team, do you have that information? On the county side, we do not.
We do not. Joe? I don't think we've.
Okay. Gavin, we will definitely get that information. And when we come back in person in March, we will make sure to have that information mapped
You
out.
will find out there are more than 10 schools in this area within walking distance. And as you mentioned, maybe 90% of all these homeless maybe is drug related. And you never ever did any related evaluation of that. And one more information is the builder. I don't know how you select this builder, but the builder, Susan is the president. And the builder is the main donor to Susan's organization. So as residents, I don't know why you mute everybody, why you mute the chat. We would love to see every attendee of this community meeting. But the thing is, we do feel, for this process of the decision, it is not correct. And I heard some voice from the residents. If you don't want to hear the residents, let me pass the words to you. The Santa Clara is not the old Santa Clara anymore. Like Kaiser, you mail to everyone. Like for this one, you email to residents in the last minute. You already have 3 meetings. You didn't do any related evaluation and research. You try to persuade us how we should be caring, but who care us? Who protect the seniors, the students, and the safety of this community? And did you see the shelter built on Lawrence? Not Lawrence, right? Only 0.5 mile away, less than 1 mile away, already sinks the community and the business in Santa Clara. Just outside the street, the whole plaza, there is only one Paris, but quick is survived there. For the whole city, I think we will suffer if you just try to squeeze in 3 homeless shelter here. Then maybe later, when they refer to Santa Clara City, that's just a homeless shelter city. So, no doubt, the real estate price will just, So, I don't think that's a proper way to do the community meeting. And we can see today who joined this meeting, but I can be very sure all our residents, most of them need more info, more evaluation based on data. You know, we are caring people. We also care this homeless. We are willing to help. But when you do the decision, you couldn't only consider what's the most convenient way for you. You need to consider, the kids, the seniors, the business of the city. Yeah, that's what I want to share with you. And please, don't disable chat and let us see each other. Okay?
Thank you, Gavin, for that feedback. I did want to clarify that this is the first community meeting. We presented this at the city council and do have 2 additional meetings planned to hear your voices. Those next 2 meetings will be in person, and you will all have the opportunity to hear what each other has to say. This is the way that we set up our community engagement so that we use the Q&A function and others can see what questions are being asked. I'm going to pause on the raised hands and move over to some of the Q&A. Anonymous attendee wrote, has the county sold the property to Life Moves? The county is not proposing to sell the property. Currently, what's being considered is an opportunity to go out to do community engagement, see if there is appetite for this site here, and then we would go back to the city council with the recommendation and then the respective board of supervisors. If this were to move forward, the county would not be selling the property. We would be leasing it to Life Moves or to the city. Anonymous attendee also wrote, it seems that this is a seminar to promote your project. This is not. It's very hard to design a community engagement strategy and meeting. We really are trying to hear from you before making a recommendation, and wanted to first introduce the opportunity and then give the team an opportunity to go back and design something that they can then share with you at the next meeting. Scrolling down. Please let us know how many residents are attending. The current count is 394. And I'm sorry, anonymous attendee also asked, would like the list of city/county sponsors on this project. If the person that asked the question can clarify what that means, we'd be happy to answer. Ben Hertzberg has asked, would you be willing to consider a different location? Can the community help you locate a more reasonable location? Absolutely, Ben. Again, for the community's consideration, first, what we're looking at is properties that are already owned by a government entity so that we don't have to go and buy a piece of property in the open market. Otherwise, the majority of the funds go towards supporting an acquisition instead of supporting the construction. So if the community has a different site in mind, we would absolutely consider that. I'll take one more. Why does the shelter have to be built in the area full of elementary schools and residential houses? There are a bunch of other areas in Santa Clara that have less residential houses, schools, and apartments. We are deeply concerned with living close to a homeless shelter. So more of a comment and not a question. All right, I'm going to turn it back to the raised hands function. And can we please unmute Diane Harrison?
Hi, yes, I'm Diane Harrison, and my husband and I are both seniors. We live at Benton and Pomeroy, and we are both 100% in support of this plan. We think it's a great idea. There's a lot of need. I think it's a great location, being next to a church. A lot of people will possibly need, counseling or whatever, or just spiritual help. 7-Eleven is across the street. I would request one other thing that hasn't been mentioned is maybe a hawk signal at Flora Vista, perhaps. It's hard to get across the street there with the high-speed traffic coming from the expressway. I mean, since we live so close to there, we go by there a lot. There are buses and shopping just a few blocks walk north, and more shopping and the Kaiser Hospital 2 blocks south. In other words, great location. And right now, as you mentioned, it's just a weedy lot, 10 months of the year, another month for pumpkins and trees. I think that those folks who want the places moved somewhere else, I think in any case, it should be both and, not either or. And it sounds like you've got a lot of locations. I was happy to see that. Pumpkins and trees, they're right now, we have them at the Moonlight Center, which is very close up on Kylie. They can be in other underutilized parking lots and possibly even some parks. You could put some pumpkins or trees in. And then some people are worried about schools. I'm thinking the poor people who are poor are not inherently dangerous. And I think that is something that I hear a lot from those who really don't want to see poor people in their neighborhood. My experience with that poor people really are on average nicer than rich people. So I am happy to have them in my neighborhood. I want them in our neighborhood and I want to help them get housing. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Diane. We will move on to Jacob. Jacob, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, thanks. I want to just respond to the poor people comments just now. We are not concerned about poor people. We are willing to help poor people, but we are concerned with people with drug addicts and also mental health problems. That's the concern. This community has so many schools, and so many young children and seniors. And we enjoy this community so much. We love it, and we love to help poor people. But the concern is the safety. How should we make sure that the homeless people with mental problems and with drug addicts, what if they turn this shelter into a drug hotspot? That is the hotbed for crimes. And have you counted how many children walking through the street to their schools every morning? They will pass this site every day. How would you protect the young children going to the elementary school, going to the high school? I see them every day. I'm concerned. I'm also a father of young children. So I want to make sure that the city will take concern of these voices in making decisions. And I also want to comment on the previous person's comment. I think her name is Gavin. This is not right way to set up a meeting like this. We only see you control the screen, you control the voice. And thank you for giving me the opportunity for my voice. But we should be more open, welcome to all voices, let people see each other, let people to hear each other, to discuss this topic. We want to help, but we want to find an alternative way to help them rather than putting two shelters in the same neighborhood with so many people concerned about the safety and the crimes.
Thank you, Jacob, for the feedback. I did want to clarify for our attendees that the site being mentioned, the Bella Vista site, while it is serving as interim housing for a few years, it is going to be permanent housing in the long term. The developer is working on the schedule for the permanent side. We'd be happy to provide that information. And I say that because, when we started, we talked about the need for more interim housing in the city of Santa Clara. And so, again, while we only have that Bella Vista site for a year, maybe two, it is not going to provide that long-term need that we have in the city for interim housing. I'll take one more of the raised hands and go to the